like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity for Passions. I don't even know what to tell you.
Melissa's here.
Why is that funny?
I don't know. Maybe she was a little concerned about something being said that now she doesn't know and she had to show up. Wasn't it Melissa or was it Rosanna?
Huh.
It was Jason.
Oh, it was Jason. No, he wasn't here. He's not here. I thought it was one of the ladies, but
No, it was Jason. Jason and Shelley.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, this one might be a rated R. So again, if you go to a movie and they say it's rated R because of, violence, language, and sex, if there's violence, language, and sex, you don't complain, to the theater owner and go, there was violence there. It's like, hey, so you've been warned, you've been warned. I'm not going to say, especially women, but this could get a little spicy. And I know, Ben and Ken, they tell me that women get spicy and sassy and a little saucy. So they get that way. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying Ken and Ben have shared that with me. And so you've been forewarned that this one could get a little bit something here. Ben, what do we have for today on Voices of Integrity for Passions?
So, I was going to ask my question but the people that I thought were going to show up didn't show up. I don't know if they're going to listen to it either way.
Probably.
So I might not sugarcoat it. I might just say it outright. I'm a little bit nervous, honestly.
Okay, let me go ahead and let me just translate for Ben. This is very important. Okay. Very, very, very important. Okay. I just want to emphasize. So if you're listening to the rebroadcast of it and it's offensive, it would not have been as offensive if you had showed up. So don't blame Ben. And I don't care if you blame Ben. You can blame Ben or Ken. I don't even care. You know how guys are. We don't protect one another. We throw each other under the bus all the time. So for sure, don't blame me. Now, again, this is not me being a woman. It's not. I'm just saying that, so hopefully it's clear in all the things I'm saying and not saying. But if you don't show up, so it's more safe. I mean, yes, it's true. This is recorded. It's probably going to 8+ billion people on the planet are going to go ahead and show up. This is not blackmail. This is not blackmail where if you show up, it's more likely it's going to be a little softer. It's going to be a little more gentle. If you don't show up, don't cry and complain. Just show up, and all right, Ben, I think I've put enough, morphine in now, so nobody's going to come back and blame me for what you're going to say. Go ahead.
How do I not ask too much of people?
Why would you? What's causing that question?
I'm scared. So I don't know. I'm married for almost 2 years now, and I feel like I set the bar too low, maybe. And I feel like I want to ask more, but I'm nervous to ask more because she's doing technically what I asked. And I don't know if I should I don't want to fly too close to the sun. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying?
So, I think I'm reading you, buddy. And so, to be clear, this is a friend of Ben's that he's talking about. So his friend who's been married, and friend is talking and wondering about his wife. And so his wife goes ahead and, you know, like, so Ken has all of these feelings that are inside of him, but he can't articulate them. I can articulate Ken's feelings, okay? So I can articulate them. And so this is what Ken's feeling right now. Again, don't shoot the messenger. And so what Ken's feeling right now is that so remember John Nicholson. Ken remembers John Nicholson. And Ed Rydell. Ken knows both of those guys. So once, like, we're in the office on Mondays, and I'm talking to both of them, and John Nicholson says, Mark, and he shakes his head. And he shakes his head. He says, I could do 99 things, Mark, and you'd find the one thing that I don't do. And I'm like, I have this, here's where the rated R come in. If the grandkids are on, do not repeat this. This is not a grandpa. Do not repeat this. Do not say grandpa said this. Okay. This is again, Uncle Ken. So, John had this dumbass response. It's like, so in his world, he went on to be a pastor. No correlation there. So in his world, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. In my world, it's more of a Navy SEALs world. It's not perfection, it's flawless, being flawless, which is very different than perfection. You can ask Ken about that. Once he made that mistake, he'll never make that mistake again. And then Ed Rydell says, it's like, he looks at me and he shakes his head. He's like, it's like you expect us to learn, like, every week something new. And it was 2-on-1, like both of the dumbasses, like two dumbasses coming together. And it's like, you expect us to learn something new every week. And I'm thinking, man, I'm a terrible leader. It's not every week I'm expecting them. I expect them to learn something every day. No, every minute of every day. I expect that from them. And so, so I think the thing is, you watch Jim Bontrager's video. So a lot of times, Ben, husbands or wives, it could go either way. They expect the other person to go ahead and grow and change and learn, but they don't expect them themselves. They want more things. Linda Breakow, my international speaking coach, she said to me, in relationships, there's seasons in life. And every season in the relationship, you renegotiate. And so there were, when Rosanna and I
feel like that's a bad thing to do on an anniversary.
What's that?
I feel like that's a bad thing to do on the anniversary. Let's renegotiate this real quick.
Not sure you have to do it on the anniversary day.
Got it.
A couple days after it, after you've celebrated hey, we've made it for 2 years. Woohoo!
So women, Ben and I are confused right now by what Ken just said. So women, can you help us understand what Ken is saying here, please? Because Ben and I are like we're trying to figure, this is our brains. We're trying to figure out what Ken. So do you do it 2 days before, 2 days after? Like, do you have to, I would think on an anniversary, doing all these really cool things, and that would be a great, perfect time, but okay, maybe it's not a perfect time. So how do you know, women, when the perfect time is just everything's perfect? How do you know when that's Ken creates confusion for Ben and I?
Sorry.
I don't understand what Ken's saying. I'm like, okay, I would think that on an anniversary, that would be the perfect time to go out and say, hey, honey, But so women, please. The perfect time.
Nope, not me.
Now, what does that mean?
Not answering that question.
Now, Ben, I just want you to know I revere Elaine and I revere Ira even more. Like I just like, man, that guy. Because when you have an amazing wife, you know that there's an amazing husband. You know, because behind every amazing wife, there's an amazing husband. There's that. You know that there's that real saying. So, and so I don't know what Elaine is saying. Like she's not saying, Ben, that women don't want to commit to anything because they always want to catch you in a trap. She's not saying that for sure. I just want to make sure Ben's clear because he's new to this stuff. He's only 2 years. I've been involved for 39 years. And so she's not saying that.
My marriage is dying, so what do I know?
That's Ken speaking for himself. And so, other women, please help.
So I think what Ken might be saying is that you can go ahead and talk about some negotiations, but make sure that the anniversary is sweet so you can get your point through because she
Okay,
wants,
so
you want
Rosanna's
her to
just
know-
teasing
want-
and taunting me now.
you
Now
want
she's just
her to
teasing.
know you
Now
love
she's just
her.
taunting me. Now she's talking over me too. Like this is gonna get spicy
Wait, you
right
were
now.
talking
So
over
this
me.
is a
You
question.
interrupted.
This is a question. This is a question. Okay. So does 100% of the anniversary, or can you do 99% of it's perfect? I mean, just perfect, and have 1%. Like how do you know? Like, help me understand this. Because I'm pretty sure I've been running at 97%. Like there was this one vacation I went on that was 3 nights, 4 days. And I mean, it was small talk the whole entire vacation. 100% of the vacation was small talk. And so when you say, make sure the anniversary is good, what percentage are you talking?
I would say 75%.
That's never worked before for me. That's deceptive advertising. You can go to prison for that. Just
All
to
right,
be
Melissa,
clear,
what about you? Melissa?
We're just using this as gold now. It's just like, you said this. It's recording.
35%. That's awesome. Like that means there could be 3 days of small talk and a one whole day of something significant. A whole day.
That's
I
what you're
did
agreeing
mine.
to, right, Rosanna?
I didn't agree to anything. I just said that that's a good option. It's not signed in blood.
Recorded pretty close.
Those are general guidelines that could change at any time. You read the
Yeah.
small print when you get married.
Yep, that's
and
right.
It's like, whoa, this is intriguing. So in the I've been looking for how to have significant conversations, and I asked a group of guys that were in their 80s about it. And Alvin Miller, the guy's a genius. My gracious, he didn't even pause. I said, I'm looking at how to get into significant conversations with people. And he said, some people you can't. Obviously, he's taunting me when somebody says you can't do something. I just want to do it. Not to prove him wrong, just to like, what fun if somebody can do something. I'm not going to do it, but if somebody can't do it, so I'm like, ooh, he's teasing. And I told him that. I said, Alvin, you're teasing me. He looked at me and he's like, so he was like, came in today wanting to test you in multiple arenas. I'm like, how's that going for you? Anyway, I said, what do you mean? And he said, to have a significant conversation, a person has to have confidence. Because to have a significant conversation, there's some amount of vulnerability that has to be had. And if you're not confident, you won't be vulnerable. And I start shaking right in the restaurant. I'm like, you gotta be joking. I'm like, holy cow. That's like a Tom Cruise experience. I'm like, I've never put significant conversations with confidence. I've never connected those dots. Not just this year, it's the dot year where I'm not connected, but I never have. And he looked at me and he's like, you have. I'm like, no, I really haven't. And then it's like he made this face like, you're an idiot. Like, you're so stupid. I'm like, right? Like, how can I not know that? But that was like so cool. And if any of you are thinking Mark's really humble, just talk to Ken. He'll validate that I'm not. And so it's like, huh? So in this friend that Ben
That's
has
very
is
interesting
married.
because I don't think I've ever done that. I've thought about the vulnerability thing, but I never thought about confidence connecting to vulnerability.
Right. And that connecting to significance. It's like, oh my goodness. And so that friend of Ben's that's in, a marriage, he's got a couple friends actually. He's got one friend. It's weird. He's got one friend that's been married 2 years. Then he's got another friend that's been married for 39 years. And so he's got these friends and it's like both of these friends, because I know them too, both of these friends are struggling with the same exact thing. Same exact thing. You'd think that
They'd get their act together, right?
Okay.
You'd think they'd get their act together, right?
Especially the guy who's been married 39. You're married 2 years, you're not going to figure out in 2 years. But 39 years, man, you got to be a pretty pathetic husband to figure these things out in 39 years. But again, that friend there, he's not like me, he's super humble. He's clueless. He doesn't have any idea what's going on. Anyways, the challenge they're having is, men are supposed to be the leaders in the home. This is not just for Christians. This is for anybody. If something goes bad, it's their fault. Like, this is not a Christian thing. This is a world thing. Anything that goes wrong, it's the man's fault. Just is. And so if you can't have a significant conversation with a wife, whose fault is it?
Well, it's obviously the guy's fault because he's not giving her the confidence she needs.
Right, because it's his responsibility to give her confidence. Right. So it's his fault. So, ladies, what are you thinking right now?
You're right.
Go ahead, Elaine.
No, that was Ginger Ann. She says, you're right. So Ginger Ann's a very unusual woman. Most women are I'm not saying, I want to be clear, I'm not saying that all women just love to argue and fight. I'm not saying that. They just, because they're interested in TJJS. It's not that. So when a woman does what Ginger Ann just did, and says that I'm right, it kind of throws me off my game a little bit. Like I
Noticed.
don't even know what to respond. I don't even know how to respond to that. It's like, okay, that kind of messes everything up.
That's what you're waiting for. You're like,
what's that?
But.
Oh, you think there's a but coming? Go ahead, Ginger Ann.
Oh, is it? Just, you're right.
What am I right about?
That men are always responsible for everything.
So here's a
Not
question.
everything, right? Just when things don't go right.
Right. When things go bad, it's
When
always the
things
man's
go
fault.
really
When it's-
good, who's
Yeah, it's the woman. So here's a question, Ginger Ann, because you seem to have a lot of knowledge and wisdom that I perceive. So what happens, not that it would ever happen or you'd have any understanding or awareness of this, of course, but
maybe
what
a friend of
happens-
yours.
Right, a friend of yours. Right. What happens, Ginger Ann, when a husband doesn't seem to take any responsibility for anything? What do you do then?
I don't know. Let me know when you figure that out.
Okay. I heard this story once of a couple guys who were moving a trampoline. Funniest story. You know, so the reason they were moving the trampoline is because they had an uncle that gave them the trampoline as a gift, but then they had to move it because the insurance company said that you can't have a trampoline. So the uncle wasn't around to go ahead and move the trampoline. So his brother ended up moving it with this other man. Anyways,
You're welcome.
so anyways, so you know, as a man, I've learned that as an older man, I've learned that when you're working with younger men, they don't like to be told what to do. So Luke, this doesn't apply to you, I'm sure. I'm just saying that in my experience, when you're working with younger men, it's best not to tell them what to do. And so, especially if it's at their home. And so you don't tell them. So the story of these two men that I know, the younger one thought it would be good to roll the trampoline. The older one's like, I'm not sure that's the best idea. Like, I'm not sure that's the best idea, but he knows the rules. It's that part, it's the younger man's home, so just do it. And there's vehicles all around. And so you're rolling it between it. Now, the younger man's mother-in-law went ahead and said, should we move the car? And the older man is like, I'm not going to get involved, even though it's, you know, my car. That's what the older man's thinking. The younger man says, oh, don't worry about it. He dismisses his mother-in-law, just ignores his mother-in-law because he's really smart. Like, he's really smart. So, you know, so the older man and younger man are rolling this thing. And it's pretty bulky, and it starts to tip on the older man's car. And the older man's trying to hold it, and the younger man starts yelling at the older man and says, stop pushing it on your car. The older man is like, glad it's not that nice of a car. I bet you I'm going to end up paying if that goes ahead because it's the older man's fault, obviously. And so younger men get used to it. It only gets better as you get. The older you are, the more fault it's always your fault. So so I don't know, like in that situation, who's the more stupid one? Like, is the older man more stupid or is the younger one more stupid? I don't know. Like, you could make a strong argument. The older man knew all this stuff, saw all this stuff before. He knew he was going to get yelled at. And it's like, it didn't crash on the car. Made a better story if it had. But, you know, so younger men and younger women, be careful about older men. They're shifty buggers. Like the stories that they can come up with, like they can turn anything into everything. Ben, other thoughts you want to accomplish? Did your mother promise you something that if you avoided a certain topic that she would, I don't know, make you dinner or talk to your wife about some serious subjects that you might struggle talking with? Like, was there some negotiation with your mother not to continue last week's conversation? I'm just curious.
No, I thought about it. I just don't remember the exact ground rules of what was going on in the last podcast. And so I didn't know exactly how to bring it up.
Got it. Interesting.
It was something
Anybody?
about women kicking out someone's knees. I don't remember whose. It wasn't mine, obviously.
Yeah, I was thinking it was more like women not being sensitive to their husbands or their sons, and that there was a guy on that went ahead and said something about his mom and sisters did a bunch of things to his dad, and he now, as a husband, as a man, says, "Boy, that's got to suck." To go ahead and be a dad, and I'm sure that that the mom, the wife, would go ahead and like be hit to the core and be like, "Wow," and that she would probably get together with the kids and especially the girls and say, do you guys know of anything? And then talk to the son and say, like, what are some things that you remember? Like getting specifics, and really drilling into those specifics and saying, like, like this guy's, in mid-20s and he's traumatized by this. Like he's like, so is that subconsciously impacting him to where he doesn't want to have kids? Because he's like, I saw what my dad went through and I don't want to go through that. And so, right?
So I had something I wrote down.
So anyways, come to before, come to the after. That's where the real juice happens. I mean, that's where, Alan, hopefully you and Nancy are listening to this. I mean, I know you always come for laughter and stuff like that. And so for sure you want to join us in the podcast if you're not able to be on, live, definitely be on the broadcast. So we'll go into the after. The after is going to be, I don't even know what it's going to be. It's going to be crazy. So pass this along to two other people. I mean, it's funny, thought provoking for men and women, older and younger, all kinds of stuff. And so always remember we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.